What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for being here on Monday night after Thanksgiving. Oof. That hits like a ton of bricks, doesn't it, Kirk? Monday
So
after
hard.
Thanksgiving? Brutal.
It's a rough day in the entire globe. Everyone's feeling it.
It's bad. It's I don't know, we've never done like a top 5 worst days back when we did our like schoolyard picks and top 5s, but that's got to be up there. That's like day after the Super Bowl is bad, day after Thanksgiving break is bad. I feel like it's even worse than like the new year when you have to go back to work after the new year, because you feel a little bit like re-energized by the new year every time, I feel like. Whereas like with Thanksgiving, you're like, why am I even here? It's almost Christmas. Like, just get me out of here.
Yeah, I think as a society, we should just shut down the world between Thanksgiving and New Year's.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, other countries do stuff like that. Like in Europe, they maybe this is total misinformation, but this is how I perceive it: is that in Europe, they just like they all decide like this is when we are off. Like we're just off for this big chunk of time, and I don't see why we haven't gotten that same deal. I feel like that's messed up.
Yeah, if you're listening in Europe right now, we would love to hear if we are accurate or completely bonkers.
Yeah, I think sometimes that like it's like a bad game of telephone where people end up with like really bad misinformation about how things actually are in Europe. But I really do believe that's the case because um, I've worked with companies that are based in Europe, and there seems to be a huge chunk of downtime. So
Yeah.
I want that deal. I think we should invest in that immediately. We need to make it
Breaking news, we are moving to the European Union, everyone. We are
Yeah.
leaving this country and we're
Spain,
never
I
coming
think.
back.
That'd be great. Anyway, we're here. It's Monday night after Thanksgiving. We're somehow functioning. We're gonna make it happen. With me, as always, your co-host Kirk,
Hello.
and I'm your other co-host Cam. This is Popcorn for Breakfast. This is our What's Poppin' episode. It's been about 3 weeks since we have done a What's Poppin' stream, and we are getting back into it. So the last episode we had was our big closeout of Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, our review of Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, mega episode, almost 2 hours long. We were really diving into it. This week we're going to get back to what's popping, but there's not that much that's popping, Kirk. There's really not. But we're here anyway. It's after Thanksgiving. Glad that we all made it through. Did you have a good Thanksgiving, Kirk?
It was pretty good. Pretty darn good. I will say that immediately following my second Thanksgiving, I got immensely ill and I
Oh
slept.
no.
Yes, I slept for practically 14 hours and then I woke up and then I went back to sleep for another 6. And I felt great Sunday about 5 o'clock and haven't looked back since.
I mean, you give your body that much sleep and it's gonna figure stuff out. You know what I mean? It's gonna like whatever ailments you have going, it's gonna knock that thing out of there. So good on
Yeah.
you. That's what they always say is like just crash, ride it out, and it sounds like that's what you did. So good work.
Thank you. Thank you very much. How about you? I know I
I don't
saw
know,
you
man.
for part of it.
I always feel like Thanksgiving. I'm kind of a hater. I'm not that I'm not thankful for Thanksgiving, but I am a bit of a Thanksgiving truther. I feel like we. It's just not a great holiday. It's just not. I think that the ceiling of Thanksgiving is very low. Like a good Thanksgiving to me is you don't get the stomach flu.
Yeah.
And like you play some card games with your family and eat some pie, right? Like that's a good Thanksgiving, but that's like it. That's as good as it gets. There's no like, oh, we made these great family memories and had these great moments of bond. Like, no, it's just something you do and then it's over. And you can have fun doing it, but it's not like Christmas or Halloween where you're just gonna have a blast. At least not in my world. If anybody's out there who's just like, oh my gosh, Thanksgiving is the best holiday, and let me tell you why. I want to hear from that person because I have yet to meet anyone like that.
Yeah. I mean, let's count the numbers. How many Christmas movies are there out there? A gajillion. How many
Yes.
Thanksgiving movies are there? None
One.
whatsoever. Is there one?
I don't know. Is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles a Thanksgiving movie?
It might be a Thanksgiving movie, but is it totally about Thanksgiving?
No.
No.
I feel like people associate that movie with Thanksgiving, but I feel like it's also a Christmas movie.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. I mean,
um, yeah.
they have movies called Independence Day. They have them called Valentine's Day and Christmas Day, A Christmas Story, but they don't have any of them called Thanksgiving Day. And I think this is our opportunity, Cam, to break into the business for the niche group that we're arguing against that Thanksgiving
Yeah,
isn't that great of a holiday.
it's true. There is a white space there, Kirk. It might be there for a reason. Maybe many have tried to write a good Thanksgiving Day movie and it just doesn't exist because it's a crappy holiday.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like we're definitely missing some. There must be like there are certainly films that would be considered Thanksgiving films other than like Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, which doesn't count because they did one for like every holiday. They did one for like election day. Okay, like there's a Charlie Brown for everything.
Oh,
So
yeah. There's a Charlie Brown for Arbor Day. I'm pretty positive.
and the Thanksgiving Charlie Brown isn't even the best one.
No,
Christmas is the best one.
obviously.
And frankly, even though I love the jelly beans, popcorn, toast Thanksgiving meal, I feel like it's a tight race between those two. Like Halloween and Thanksgiving, it's a tight race between which one of those is better.
I think Halloween is better.
I think it's funnier because you've got the whole I got a rock bit, which is really funny, and the Great Pumpkin with Linus. I feel like that's a great bit too. So I don't know. I don't know. See, again, it's like it's just not Thanksgiving is not the best at anything at all.
Hmm.
That's my take.
Hmm.
So take it or leave it. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's the hill I'm going to die on for tonight.
Well, rest well, sweet soldier.
Thank you. Also, thanks for stealing my background again. I actually I have changed some things in my background from last time. Minor changes that have exposed you
Oh
in your
no.
treachery. So now people should know which one is the real one and which one's the fake. And I think that it's pretty clear that you are the fake, Kirk. So foiled
Well,
again.
I think I don't know. I mean, I could reach back at any moment and grab whoever I want, and I don't think you can do that with your background because yours is virtual, Cam.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, we won't test that because I don't want to put you totally on blast, but we'll leave that. All right. But let's talk about this. So we've had 3 weeks without what's popping. I said there wasn't that much popping. It's true, but there is one thing, Kirk. There was one absolute howitzer of a news story that came out on of all days, November 20th, which was what a Sunday night, like last Sunday. So the Sunday
Yeah.
before Thanksgiving, we're just, hanging out, watching Sunday night football, whatever. I get a text from you. You're at like Target or something, and you text me, Bob Iger is back, all caps. And I had been kind of offline, like doing bedtime and with the kids and stuff like that. And I was like, no way. And I didn't know what
Yeah.
you meant by that. Like, I didn't know if he got hired at a different studio or whatever. And then I come to find out that the real story is that Bob Iger is back as CEO of Disney. Um, and in a surprise move, the Walt Disney Company board of directors reinstated Bob Iger as CEO and fired Bob Chapek. They won't say as much. They say that what did they say? He stepped down or whatever. Um, but he was fired. Make no mistake about it. He was shown the door. And anytime somebody says this is happening effective immediately and you no longer have a job, that means you were fired.
Right.
So Bob Chapek was fired after 2 years on the job as CEO of Disney, and Bob Iger, perhaps the greatest CEO in the history of the Walt Disney Company, we'll talk about that, has returned, and we're here to talk about it. So, Kirk, let's pop it up and let's get into this a little bit.
Pop it, pop it, pop.
Okay, Kirk. So I want to start with some of the details around this. whole exchange. So the one thing that wasn't immediately clear, I think, whenever the headline was just flying around and everybody was kind of picking it up, tweeting it before they read the Hollywood Reporter article, before they read, all the various reports, is that there is a term limit on this deal, which is 2 years. He's been given a 2-year contract, and included in that contract, the board has essentially given him a mandate to drum up a new succession plan. Like they're basically saying like, nope, stop, rewind, let's run that back and try it again, because he's basically going to rerun the last 2 years of his tenure at Disney, in which he was supposed to find a successor, name a successor, and then have a successful transition. By their standards, the transition to Bob Chapek did not go well. It's easy to see some of the reasons why. You've got, the obvious things that are in the headlines, like the issues that he had with employees over the what's being called the "Don't Say Gay" bill, the very public fallout with Scarlett Johansson over the Black Widow, which was brutal. You've got the financial performance, which has been really bad. So lots of black marks on Disney over the last 2 years that you just didn't really hear about things like that as much under Bob Iger's watch. He would have taken something like the "Don't Say Gay" bill or anything political and really kept it in house and worked it out with his employees and made things smooth it over. That's something he was really good at during his tenure. But I digress. The point is, Bob Chapek is now out, fired. Bob Iger is back in as CEO of the Walt Disney Company, and he's here for 2 years to right the ship and exit once again. So Kirk, whenever you got all those details and you've kind of let the dust settle in your mind, where was your head at with this, in terms of what was your reaction, positive or negative, to this news?
Yeah, my immediate words in my mind is "Daddy's home." He came back. He left us. He went
Oh
on a long
my.
trip. Maybe it was a deployment, but Daddy's home is all I could think of because oh, we've missed him. We have missed him. We have missed him. We have missed him. And a part of the long runway that they gave the Bob baton handoff, I think that should have been telling enough. Obviously, when you are up for a new job, you are showing your best colors, your best foot is forward. Bob Chapek must have had a very good right foot. And then as soon as Bob Iger stepped away, officially his left foot popped up, and man, was it those nasty fungus-filled toenail poppin commercials we've seen that we've tried to rid from our memories, because most decisions he made were wrong. The nickel and diming at the amusement parks, the very public fights with celebrities that have helped build and reshape and increase the value of Disney, and of course, just madden thousands and thousands of fans across the world. Uh, Chapek, I don't know if the pressure was just too big, if he needed more time to find those soft skills that Bob Iger has. But then again, you just can't be Bob Iger. I can't be Bob Iger. I'd like to be, but there's no one like him. So this news was very heartwarming immediately.
Yeah, I mean, I had a similar reaction. I'm not gonna lie. Like my first thought was elation. And based on it's not really based on Bob Chapek so much as it is Bob Iger. Like
Yeah.
for me personally, while I didn't agree with a lot of the decisions and the the very public PR crises that he had during his um, tenure there, uh, I think the thing that pops into my head immediately is Bob Iger's tenure and the legacy that he left with the company. This is a guy who, you know, he took over Disney after Michael Eisner, and it was a mess. Disney Animation was a mess. They were making bad movies. They had totally lost the fan base. The parks were a mess. They had this brand new park out in Disneyland, California Adventure Park, which was a total disaster, total flop. Nobody liked it. It just did not work. It was not Disney quality. It was bad times. And Bob Iger came in, and he made the parks the best they've ever been. He made Disney Animation Studios an absolute powerhouse, releasing movies like Frozen. I mean, any number of Moana, the incredible films that they were able to crank out. And then he also, by the way, acquired Pixar, acquired Lucasfilm, acquired Marvel Studios, acquired Fox. Like, the dude absolutely cemented a rock solid legacy and has had completely changed the face of Disney and Disney's future before exiting. So I was not happy when he was leaving, because I was so happy, as a Disney fan and as a fan of the movies. I mean, heck, we were just coming off of Avengers Endgame. Marvel was at the best it had ever been. We had seen some amazing Disney animated films, live action films, etc. And I was so happy with the product that I was like, no, don't go. Please don't go. So to have him back, my first reaction was, let's get back to doing things right, because I do think that, with Bob Chapek, we do have to kind of throw out there, he inherited the company and then COVID hit. So the park stuff was a mess. They were losing money hand over fist. He had to figure out how to make money in an entertainment company when movie theaters weren't open. So there were a lot of things with Disney Plus, like that Premier Access and things like that. Like, even though I hated that stuff, I don't really blame him, because it's like, what do you do? So he was dealt a rough hand. But then there's the other stuff, like you said, Kirk, like the nickel and diming at the parks, with the new Genie program, like making people pay to get onto rides, which is something that was never really a thing before and is now. That made people really upset. There is, whether it's his influence or not, the fact that Marvel Studios quality has dropped, and there are reports that Kevin Feige is spread too thin. That was something that didn't happen under the leadership of Bob Iger. So there's a lot going on there. And, he was dealt a tough hand, but at the same time, like, it's a hard company to run. And if you're not cut out for it, I think they made the right choice, personally, to backtrack. And that's not to say that Bob Iger is going to come in and magically fix everything, but if he's not your guy, exit. You know what I mean? Don't just keep doubling down on the same person if it's not the right person. So I think they decided it wasn't, and so they moved on to Bob Iger.
That's true. I mean, if the next criteria is strictly being named Bob, if they decide to go that route again, I would like to officially announce my candidacy and my legal name change to Bob Doolin.
Yeah.
So this is my chance. I will gladly stand in the look. His arm is ready for me in this image you have open. It's ready. He's looking for a son to hold, Cam, and I could be that son if I could just change my name
was
to
Robert. I know.
Bob or Robbie. I'll be Robbie. I'll be Robbie Iger Jr. And I just think that this is the right time for me to take over Disney.
It could be. Though your emotions are getting in the way here, Kirk. You're showing your true colors right now. And for that reason, I don't think it can happen.
Maybe that's what the world needs. They need to see an emotionally fragile man run Disney.
Yeah, it could be. Though I would say that Bob Chapek was an emotionally fragile man, because I felt like his responses to some of those things with, like, the Black Widow were, and his response to he I don't know how to phrase, he just said stuff wrong a lot, like in a way that you would not expect a CEO to say things. Like, I can't remember the gaffe that he had around he said something about Shang-Chi that was not worded exactly right and made it sound like as if that movie was less than something else. And I was like, oh man, come on. Like, that's too easy. You can't be making mistakes like that. And then he, was like publicly doubling down on the Scarlett Johansson stuff, which I thought was so weird. I thought was just a bizarre choice.
Is he from
So
Boston? I feel like he's got like a New England attitude. Like, I'm not gonna back down.
I don't know, man, but there were some weird choices to the point where it was like, do you have a PR team? Are you ignoring them? Like, what exactly are we doing here? Um, but I want to talk about like the state of Disney right now that Bob Iger is inheriting, and what would kind of be at the top of your wish list for him to really tackle. And it doesn't have to be one thing; it can be a couple of things that you feel like are hot button issues at Disney that need to be addressed, and why, I guess.
Yeah. So I think Star Wars is getting back on track. They had to feel their way through what, you know, the sequel trilogy and all these extra shows are, but I felt like through it all they kept getting better after Rise of Skywalker. They're like, this is not what they want. How about this? Pretty good. And what if we throw in this? And they just kept getting better till we got to Andor, right? And so then it's just like superb. That's the bar, right? So I think Star Wars is fine. I don't think he needs to even have a conversation with them in the next 2 years, except for, hey guys, good job while I've been out. Bravo. I think.
I'll challenge you there though, Kirk, and
Oh,
I'll let you keep going. Like, I don't disagree. Like, I think that the Star Wars shows, like the sum of the Star Wars shows, in my opinion, is greater than the sum of the Marvel shows. Like,
yeah.
the average quality of the Star Wars shows is higher than the average quality of the Marvel shows. I have enjoyed the Star Wars shows more. Like, I would rather watch things like The Mandalorian and Andor over most of the Marvel TV shows. But, you know, there is the situation that there has not been a Star Wars film
Mm.
since The Rise of Skywalker. And sure, that's 3 years, but like, so it's not that long. But it's also, there's not one imminent. Like, we have all these ones that are in various stages of production, but Lucasfilm almost feels scared to release a film at this point because, to your point, things are kind of going well with the shows, but the movies are scary to them because the sequel trilogy receives such fan backlash. So, like, there have been rumors that Kathleen Kennedy may be on the hot seat with this new transition. Would you? Where do you fall on that?
Where she goes?
Does she stay?
I
Is it
don't
the right
know.
move to keep her?
I don't know how deep her hand is in the pockets of maneuvering things like creatively. Like I know that she has like what's her title? What's Kennedy's title? Do we know?
She's the Kevin Feige of Lucasfilm. Basically, she's the executive producer of all things there.
Okay. Okay.
President of Lucasfilm, I think.
Yeah. I just don't know. I haven't heard people talk about her sitting in the production chair, in the executive chair, saying nope, don't like that, or looking through scripts and editing them and then handing them back with rewrites or edits. I haven't heard a lot of that, and maybe it's out there. I just haven't heard it, and
I
so I
think
don't.
that traditionally she would prefer to be more hands off,
Okay,
which I don't feel like is a bad thing,
yeah,
because from my perspective, and my perception on this, just based on looking at it, is that she let Dave and Tony Gilroy do Andor, right? Like,
true,
she was like, go out there and do the dang thing. And I think that was the exact right move, because I think that's the exact kind of show that, with too much studio oversight, can become a piece of crap. And it didn't, because they let the creators do their thing. Now, on Obi-Wan Kenobi, she did, because she was worried. I think they were worried about that show. They were like, we need this to be a hit. They had to like rewrite that show. Don't you remember there was like a story out there that Kathleen Kennedy said you need to think bigger, dream bigger
yeah.
on this show. So I think that she would prefer to be more hands off, just based on like what I've read in the past. I obviously don't know her on a personal basis, but that she at times has been forced to be hands on.
Okay, okay. So in that regard, I don't think that she is as responsible for the operations as she is just keeping the ball rolling. I think it's keeping the ball rolling, and she's doing it. So I don't think she is in the hot seat in this regard.
All right. I feel you. I feel that. I think I could go either way on that. Like, if they decided to move on from her, I could point to reasons why that was a good call. But if they decide to keep her, like I'm not calling for her job. Basically, I'm not like she needs to go. Um,
Yeah.
because I do think, to your point, we're ratcheting up. I thought Obi-Wan Kenobi was good. I thought Andor was really really good. I think Mandalorian is good. So I think we're in a decent spot with the show content.
Yeah.
But so you're good with Star Wars, but the other stuff, what's on your wish list?
I I want Marvel's next phase to be much better. I do want whatever the connection was that was hiding in the background of all of phase 4 to actually connect and not just be like, oh yeah, we promise it makes sense. Like it really needs to like intertwine, and we need to see characters running in the backgrounds of scenes that were filmed, not like with CGI or a green screen like now, but like then. Like we can see in that same scene, if we watch both properties, that it was absolutely happening in real time. I need it to be that intricate and that planned out for phase 4 to matter. And then I need the parks to be way less money. I mean, I'm talking about I'm talking about 20 when did we go? 20 January 2020 pricing, because I know that's not possible, but I just don't want to have to pay for every ride I go on. I just think that's absolutely absurd. And I think there are other innovative ways that you can get people to pay money. I mean, there's people who pay like hundreds of thousands of dollars to stay on property, like literally inside the park, sleep in one of the tiny houses and sneak out and you're already in the park. Like that, get more of those, like build more of those, because those people exist and they will pay for it, versus and give them special perks like unlimited whatever. But don't make your average family, which is most people, your average family, have to nickel and dime price every single thing. Like that's hard. That's a lot of hard. That's very difficult to do and to plan for and to budget for and to be expected as a consumer who wants to buy into your company.
Yeah, so on my wish list, I would say the park stuff is high up there. I I know that we're not a theme parks podcast, but we are talking about Disney, and it ties into it. The park stuff, this could be totally not real, but I went to the parks, what, 3 times in the Bob Chapek era, and dead serious, had more ride related issues than I've ever seen at Disney World. Like rides breaking down, being temporarily closed for the entire day, waiting in line, and then they're working on something for 30, 40 minutes, like bad. And then like you get on a ride that's supposedly working and like some crucial function isn't working, like legitimately stuff like that happening, which that
Yeah.
comes from the top down. So I feel like that is real. I don't know if other people are saying similar things, but that's just my perspective of what I saw in the parks. And I'm not somebody who's there all the time, but over the 3 times that I went over the last 2 years, I was like, something is just not something is not up to snuff here. And then yeah, like the Disney Genie stuff, the app and the Fast Pass selection is better than I think it was before, where it was like, back in the day, fast passes were the best. I mean, when you could like get tons of them and just like hop back and forth, and the way they used to do it at Disneyland, where it was like all on your phone and it was free and you could just kind of reserve them, you get notifications, amazing. This is decently close to that. But the paying for the premium type rides sucks. And we did it a couple of times because my in-laws paid for the trip and it was only me and my wife who were riding the big rides because our kids are, 4 and 2. But,
Right.
when my kids get older, I'm not trying to pay $60 to ride a roller coaster at a park that I'm already paying, $200 a
Thousands of
person to be
dollars.
in, to to
Right,
to
right.
be inside. Like, I'm not trying to do that. That's crazy. I already have to pay for food and everything else. So, I feel for people who have big groups, and I mean, as your kids get older, what are you going to do? Like, that's just, you're stuck in a very sticky situation, and that's really the only way you can ride those big rides. Like, it's just not really feasible otherwise. So that is definitely high on my list. I think for me, um, he's Bob Iger's got to figure out what they're gonna do with theater, with the theater experience, because people like, did you see what happened to Strange World this
Yeah.
weekend?
Yeah.
Bombed at the box office. I mean, they're talking about that movie's going to lose $100 million.
At least. Yeah.
Youch.
It's
Like,
rough.
and I'm not saying that, like, there are macroeconomic things happening with the movie theaters that Bob Iger cannot fix, though he, being the CEO of Disney, does have a fair amount of will and power over that. But like, people don't go see kids movies in theaters anymore. It does not happen. Like, they're just going to wait for streaming. The consumer perception has changed so much to where everybody is just like, well, I'll just wait for it to go on streaming because it'll be on whatever, Paramount Plus in a month. It'll be on Peacock in 2 months. It'll be on, you know, nobody should feel like they have to go see Knives Out, Glass Onion this last week, because it's going to be on Netflix in December. Like, the perception from consumers' perspective is like, well, I'm already paying for these services. Why would I pay $30 to go with my girlfriend to the movies when we can sit at home and watch it on Netflix in 2 months? Like, no big deal. So
Right.
that is a very serious problem. Like, that's a threat. And what happens to their children's movies? I mean, yikes. I feel like that's a tough nut to crack. And then obviously with Marvel, I feel like his advice almost has to be, we got to scale this down. We ramped up too fast. And I don't know, like, that train may have left the station. There's a lot of TV shows that are in various stages of production with Vision Quest, and um, Secret Invasion is about to come out, and Loki season 2, and there's probably going to be a Moon Knight season 2, and all these different things. There's so many shows that are lined up. But it just feels like something's got to give there. If the issue really is that Kevin Feige is stretched too thin and isn't able to have the same level of creative influence, he's got to find a creative solution. And if that means getting rid of shows, then I'm for it. If that means finding some other solution that doesn't immediately come to my mind, because I can't see the inner workings of the machine, like, by all means. But that, like, they have to view consumer sentiment around Marvel as a massive threat to their business, because if people lose interest in that, it's over. That's going to destroy them.
Right.
And then I think the other thing is he's got to figure out, is there another move to be made? People have, we can get into this a little bit. People have speculated that there might be a mega deal out there for Apple. Presume it would have to be Apple. Like, if there's not really, outside of Disney acquiring somebody, the deal to be made would be Apple purchasing Disney. It has been heavily rumored. He addressed the rumors today in the employee town hall that he had on his, technically his first day back in the office, and said that it's just speculation, but that would have to be something they would seriously consider. I think it solves a lot of problems for them from a cash perspective. It solves a lot of problems for them from a software perspective, and it solves a lot of problems for Apple, who has a streaming platform that I don't feel like is in a state of long-term viability at this point, and they're trying to raise the rates, and they're probably going to lose subscribers. They probably will lose me, to be honest, as the rate hike kicks in here in a couple weeks. So he's got to figure out if there's a deal to be made there, or if he just stands pat with his current, deck of cards with Pixar and Lucasfilm and Marvel and Fox. So no, it's no small task to be done in 2 years, but like, there's work to be done.
Yeah, Apple TV Plus's latest attempt, I can't remember what movie it is, but they randomly, they're calling it an Apple TV Plus bonus, and they have a random, maybe 90s or 80s movie that's just accessible now on there. I thought that was very odd. It's Argo. That's right, Argo with Ben Affleck. I was like, that's weird. I own that. Is it on here because I own that? Is that why it's showing like what I
Yeah.
own? No, it's a new draw, I guess. So there's throwing some stuff out there, seeing what sticks. Yeah, the Apple deal purchasing Disney, that would be quite interesting. Definitely massive culture shift. So I don't know if you can maintain Disney's magic with Apple buying them.
Yeah, that's true.
Um, Although you're absolutely right, it would make them sustainable. Honestly, I will say this about Apple. Apple did this a very similar thing less than 10 years ago. Every time you bought a phone, it was $500 more than the last time you bought a phone. I remember purchasing an iPhone 3 maybe or a 4 for $200, and now they're $800. Well, for a while they were $1,500, and now they're back down to a quote unquote more reasonable price where you could potentially afford them and purchase them and be done until it dies on you. So I think Apple may have, their prices aren't astronomically crazy as they were for a period of time. And even through inflation, they've had new products, and even through COVID, they have not spiked them more than a few $100s versus an even keel 500 like they used to. So I don't know if they could just use Apple as mentors, as consultants to their business model, to figure out what are some pain points, or if there is an actual deal that's bubbling under the waters.
Yeah, I think if that deal were to happen, that like from an org chart standpoint, things wouldn't change too much at Disney. Like the the leadership and organizational structure, because there are no synergies at Apple for running parks or making films or whatever. Like they're purchasing all of their content at a very high price. They're trying to make it work. They're a software company. They're a software and hardware company. They are not in the entertainment business. So there would be a lot of things for them to gain from Disney that I think they would want to keep intact. But yeah, it's a matter of, you said it, Disney magic. It's corny, it's cliche, but it's real. People, and there's a massive group of people who believe in it and rely on it to exist, and that has to be maintained. And I think that's what people feel like was threatened by the Bob Chapek era, and that is the thing that would be threatened by any sort of massive shakeup, like a sale. I mean, that'd be a huge deal. And who knows, like from an antitrust perspective, would the U.S. government even allow such a thing to happen? I have no idea. I mean, technically, I guess yes, but it would be such a massive acquisition that like who even knows how that would go down, but something to explore.
And then Bezos buys Apple, and then he owns
And then we have
officially everything.
yeah, then we have like in what is it, the Lego movie, they have that company that's like Octan, the Octan Corporation, that just is like everything. Or in Wally, by and large, like
By
that
and
would be it.
large. Yeah,
Or
once
in
we thought
what's
Walmart was the threat when Wally was written.
Yeah, right. Yeah, by and large was like very clearly Walmart, but like this is, they weren't even thinking about Amazon at that point.
Nope.
Um, but I think they in Parks and Rec they have like Verizon, Chipotle, Exxon. That's Amazon, Apple, Disney. That's what it would be. But geez,
I
who
mean,
knows?
when we talk about the magic, if if I can't go get on Peter Pan's boat ride and the Disney cast members sprinkle pixie dust before I fly away into Neverland, that's the magic we're talking about. Could Apple sustain that type of magic through all of their own different hardships and different battles they face as a company that will trickle down into Disney and then all of the different properties? I don't know. I don't know if that's possible.
Dude,
But
but I don't know. Your mouth has to kind of water at the idea of like the tech stack that could be integrated into Disney parks without
Oh.
like the amount of like think about Magic Bands right now, what Apple could do with that. I mean, holy crap. It could
Yeah.
get stupid. And then with iPhones, I mean, half the world, probably more, carries an iPhone in their pocket. Like it could get real magical up in that piece.
That's true. You know, like in Minority Report, when they are when Tom Cruise is like walking through the mall and they're like, "Hello, Mr. Anderson, how are you doing today?"
Yeah,
And he's
exactly,
like hiding
exactly.
his face, like it would be like the characters would be like in a holographic hallway, and they'd be like, "Hello, Kirk, are you having a magical day today?" Like, yes, I am. Thank you. Like that could be the
Disney's like
magic.
halfway there on that though, because they do the thing where they like automatically sync your photos to your
Yeah.
magic band if you're wearing it, or like on It's a Small World, it will say like "Bienvenidos, Cameron," because it knows
Hmm.
that you're on the boat that's coming through, which is pretty wacky. So I
Yeah.
like wouldn't be far. But the next question and the final question that I'll leave us on is, can Bob Iger do this? Can he come in, right the ship, accomplish some of the things, maybe not all the things on our wish list, and redo the successor thing to where Disney is in the right hands? Or is he just like, is he the only person on this earth who is capable of running this company? I think it's a legit question. I think it's a legitimate question, but can he do it, Kirk?
Um, can he put the pieces back together? Yes. Can Bob Iger select his successor? No. It's not possible. When you're that good at something, you just do it. When
Yeah.
you have to find someone that you, even if you have genuine trust with them and genuine, um, just they check all the right boxes. They are a good enough natured person in Chapek's status, but you just get all the right feelings about this person, and it doesn't matter when you're someone like Bob Iger. You can't trust those instincts because you were too good at the job. So you need a committee. You need a committee that can see the options. And maybe Bob Iger puts up suggestions for that person, but Bob Iger is too close to it to emotionally make the right decision, because ultimately there's a little bit of him, a tiny bit, even though he's a perfect man, there's a little bit of him that doesn't want the next person to be better than him. Just a little bit, just a tiny, tiny bit, right? There is most of it he wants to just continue to strengthen. And then, like in 5 or 10 years, he wants that person to like level up. So that's why there needs to be, he needs to put all the pieces back together. And there needs to be a secret committee putting together, maybe building the clone of Bob Iger and pushing him out as soon as those 2 years wrap.
Yeah, I feel like part of part of your legacy is your successor. If you like, that's part of your job. Like whenever you run a company or run the country or whatever, like the transition plan is a thing, and you want to be George Washington. You want to have control over it. You want to have it done on your terms, and you want to leave things better than you found it in theory. So I feel like you might be right. I think he's a pretty ambitious guy. I mean, we know that he's toyed around with running for president in the past, and he's has political ambitions and is a very smart,
He's got my vote. I
savvy
don't
bit.
care. I don't care what party. I don't care what his views are. He's got my vote. Done.
Well, he's a smart, very savvy businessman, very, very capable guy, who has certainly done amazing things at Disney. But as ambitious as he is, and as much as he wants to be probably the greatest CEO in Disney history, naming your successor and doing it right is part of that. So he's got to figure it out. To answer the question, I think he can right the ship. I don't know if he can do it in 2 years. And I would bet that it's not 2 years. I would bet that, because it's kind of like last time. Remember last time they were like, kind of talking about it. He was like, "Yeah, I'm going to step down. I'm going to kind of figure this out, this whole succession plan." And then it just kind of kept going. And then he's like, "Oh, I'm going to stick around and see how the Disney Plus launch goes." And then he's like, "All right, I'm going to leave, but I'm also going to be executive chairman of the of the board."
Right.
So it's like it's a hard thing to do, obviously, and there's work to be done, and I don't know that it can all be done in 2 years. So we'll just see what happens. But it sounds like you and I are in agreement that this Bob Iger being back in the short term is a good thing. It's a good thing for the company. If you're a Disney fan, I think it's not. I mean, we don't have to convince you that that's a good thing because of the contributions he had to the company and the amazing things that I think we can all agree that he did while he was there. Um, it's it feels like the right move. It feels like the right move, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Welcome home, Daddy. Welcome home.
Oh gosh! Every time you say that, I'm like, ugh. But,
Daddy, it's me, Robbie. I'm here. Please. Look,
oh Lord!
I can almost reach his hand.
You almost can, but you never will. So that's our episode. That's all we're doing. That's all we're popping up this week because that's really the biggest story to sort of happen over the last 3 weeks. There are other small things going on, and if they continue to bubble, we will talk about them next week. But for now, that is where we're going to leave you on this edition of What's Poppin'. Thank you guys so much for listening. Later this week, we are going to be dropping our review of Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, and it's going to be a spoiler-free review because we are still right around 3 weeks away from its release on Netflix on December 23rd. So we want to make sure that you guys can check out our review and still watch the movie without getting spoiled. We got to see it over this past week, and we have thoughts. We're going to go hop into the studio and record that review right now. So keep an eye out and an ear out for that on Thursday. But until that time, we want to give a special thanks to our executive producer, Ryan Spriggs, as well as the band Rhetoric, who created our original music, which you are hearing right now. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you later this week for a review of Glass Onion.
Talk to you then.